rest of the planet, the animals and plants of the islands live life at the limit. Lanzarote is also known as Isla de Fuego y Agua, Island of Fire and Water. "280 years ago, this was the epicenter of a natural disaster that left one of the world's most dramatic volcanic landscapes. The fire mountains of Timanfaya. For now, the volcano lies dormant, allowing life to return. Hubara bustards are nomads. Long ago, they came from Africa, where they'd learned to withstand blistering heat and drought. Much like the Sahara Desert in North Africa, the volcanic landscapes of Fuerteventura and Lanzarote are barren and eroded. This rocky desert provides little cover. The only protection for the large birds is camouflage. The Hubara bustards came with the winds. Fuerteventura means strong wind, and sure enough, the wind never lets up. Sand whips through the air, dulling the view. The wind is called Kalima, the hot wind from the Sahara. In the Earth's largest desert, vast amounts of sand form mighty dunes. But not all the sand stays here. Powerful storms blow it high into the atmosphere, spreading it over thousands of kilometers. Kalima carries the sand out over the Atlantic. Fuerteventura and Lanzarote are the first islands on the journey west. Large amounts of sand land here, creating expanses of desert. Kalima blows many birds here too. Egyptian vultures followed the island's first human inhabitants, the Guanches. These birds are scavengers and profited from humans as long as the humans survived by breeding goats and sheep. But times have changed. The herds of animals have long since vanished. Tourists have taken over. The vultures are now rarely seen. Despite its dry desert climate, Fuerteventura is the island with the largest number of birds. Not all of them are here voluntarily. Birds migrating along the coast of Africa frequently drift out to sea and settle here to recover from their journey. The warm wind from the east meets a cold sea current from the north. The Canary Current. It brings a beautiful yet deadly creature, the Portuguese man-o'-war. Its venomous tentacles make it one of the ocean's deadliest hunters. The poison works quickly and is fatal. A bubble of gas acts as a sail, carrying it over the ocean's surface. The young Pomano fish is immune to the man-o'-war's venom and enjoys the protection of this dangerous hydrozoan. The loggerhead sea turtle has completed a journey of several thousand kilometers. Pilot fish accompany the turtle on its long journey across the Atlantic. In the open sea, any form of cover is welcome. Sometimes swarms of small fish follow in the turtle's wake. This fully grown triggerfish looks lost in the endless blue. He's looking for company. Apparently, however, the sea turtle is not in the market for a new friend.
Hey, big news! You're about to discover how you can build your very own profitable Walmart.
Then the two put aside their differences and continue the journey together. Large schools of Atlantic spotted dolphins cut through the ocean. The waters of the Canary Islands are rich in fish, and these dolphins are frequent visitors here. They share the seas with many other marine mammals. Bottlenoses are the most familiar of all dolphins. Schools are led by older, experienced males. Bottlenose dolphins communicate via a complex language. For decades, scientists have been trying to decode it, in the hope that one day we shall be able to communicate with them. Marine mammals from both cold and tropical waters meet off the Canaries. Some are just passing through. Others live here all year round. Like dolphins, long-finned pilot whales are mostly ocean nomads. But these make an exception in the straits between Tenerife and La Gomera, where they will spend their entire lives. These whales live in close family communities. Each group is led by an experienced adult, blindly trusted by the others. That's why they're known as pilot whales. Communication is crucial to the whale's existence. They use single sounds to coordinate their movements, while the complex whale songs are crucial to their well-being. There's been no rain on Fuerteventura for 4 years. This summer is particularly hot and dry, and life is increasingly difficult, even for the Hubara bastards with their desert ancestry. But there is hope. As winter begins, the hot, dry Calima weakens. The wind turns, bringing rain clouds from the north. This is what the bastards have been waiting for. The first showers approach the coast and reach the parched island. The rains are brief but heavy. The bastard makes the most of the precipitation. The rain means salvation for the parched landscape and its birds. Soon, the desert will be transformed by an abundance of fresh green vegetation. The bastards can afford to be picky, choosing only the most tender fresh shoots. But perhaps food is not the top priority right now. The rain brings the return of a bizarre spectacle that the males prepare for enthusiastically. Showtime. It's the mating season. Hubara bastards, the Casanovas of the animal world. No gesture is too grand. They'll do absolutely anything to impress the females. They hog the spotlight day in, day out. But being a star is demanding and exhausting. The madness can continue for up to 6 months. The birds with the greatest staying power are most likely to find a mate.
I'm having these mental blocks in the gym recently. It's not been fun. It's been scary. I'm getting lost in my skills. In gym, we call it the twisties. It's getting to the point where it's becoming dangerous.
I'm worth more than gold. People are like, oh, she quit. But I'm not a quitter, I'm a fighter.
Yale economist warns a crash in the dollar is coming. Our country could be facing a catastrophe. But a senior economist from Yale
The female's reaction is carefully observed. If they're impressed, they will slowly approach. Exit stage left. A quick break, and then the show will go on. Thanks to the rains, the desert is now in bloom. The Canary Island stone chats have mated. In years without rainfall, there's too little food and the birds don't breed. But this is a good year. These small birds are found only in damp gullies called barrancos on Fuerteventura. The parents catch insects in flight and feed them ceaselessly to their young. They never rest. With so much going in at one end, space has to be made at the other. The parents share cleaning duties too. Unlike the males, female Hubara bustards are shy creatures and avoid drawing attention to themselves. In the wide-open volcanic landscape, this caution is the only way to protect their young. They lay their perfectly camouflaged eggs exposed between the rocks. They'll stay on the nest for 3 weeks, leaving only briefly to find food.
A little bit, just tiny short. Yeah, that's good.
The males, meanwhile, continue their song and dance. Quite a few will eventually die of exhaustion. The females, on the other hand, will produce new life. Danger from the air. Brown-necked ravens. These intelligent predators are on the lookout for an unprotected nest. The female bustard is on high alert. If the ravens discover her nest, they'll destroy her eggs. Winter draws to an end. On the open sea, something is changing. Water from below is rising, bringing a bizarre creature with it. What looks like some form of jellyfish is in fact 60,000 eggs of a deep-sea diamond squid. They must develop on the surface. The water is full of plankton, attracting great numbers of fish. They in turn attract birds that have crossed the Atlantic. The Scopolis shearwaters have spent the winter in South America. They return to the Canary Islands in spring to rear their young. They nest in niches in the steep cliffs. The shearwaters spend the day out at sea, leaving their helpless young behind in the nest. The parents often fly hundreds of kilometers for food. Shoals of fish are not always easy to find. Fortunately, the birds have intelligent allies, dolphins. Rapidly and efficiently, they use echolocation to find their prey.
Quitting my online businesses was one of the best things I've ever done. You see, 5 years ago, I was a broke bartender making 18 grand a year, working nights, and
Corralling the fish is almost a game. Now the shearwaters can join in the hunt. Dolphins and shearwaters go in together. The hunt looks like a graceful, complex ballet. But for the shearwaters and their young, it's a matter of survival. Fish populations in the Atlantic are sinking rapidly. It's becoming increasingly difficult to find food. The hunt was a success, but the birds will only return to their young after dark. Under cover of night, strange-looking predators emerge from their hiding places. An octopus scans the seabed for prey with its tentacles. A butterfly ray spent the day lying in the sand. Angel sharks, too, are nocturnal hunters. From the steep cliffs, ghostly cries ring out over the sea. The shearwaters have finally returned to their breeding holes, navigating in the dark by their sense of smell. Almost every approach ends in a crash landing. Once the birds are back on land, they greet their neighbors. Then it's time to feed their single chick. The young bird has been waiting a long time for this moment. Now there are just a few hours to enjoy family life and get some rest. Once again, the sheer waters prepare to take off. Long before day breaks, the birds are off out to sea. The northeast trade wind has so many different names, but on the Canary Islands, it's known as Alisio. During its long journey over the Atlantic, Alisio collects a great deal of moisture. Lanzarote and Fuerteventura are too flat. The clouds drift over the volcanic hillocks without difficulty. However, when they encounter Tenerife, La Gomera, or La Palma, great cloud banks mass along the island's steep flanks. They're forced upwards, they cool, and their water condenses, giving life to a unique natural treasure.
This cheap American drone destroyed the billion-dollar drone industry. This drone engineer built a revolutionary drone at an incredibly low price, and he just destroyed the
Subtropical laurel forest. These ancient forests are found only on the Canary Islands. The mighty laurel trees milk the clouds of their moisture. The water drips from the leaves to the ground. With little actual rainfall, there are waterfalls and streams. Every surface in the forest is damp. Fungi, moss, and ferns grow on the trees. The most impressive laurel forest is in the Garajonay National Park on La Gomera. Time seems to stand still here. These forests are living fossils. They have existed since the Tertiary era. Over 2.5 million years ago, forests like this covered the whole Mediterranean region. When the climate cooled during the Ice Age, those forests disappeared. They survived on the Canary Islands. The forests remain hostage to the trade winds. The ancient flora will vanish if Alizio no longer brings moisture from the Atlantic. These mystical cloud forests should be the perfect place to discover mythical creatures. And they are home to a particularly rare animal. The Bolle's pigeon. Very few of these shy birds remain. They prefer to hide in the depths of the cloud forest. Bolle's pigeons are the descendants of European wood pigeons that passed through here long ago. They settled in the forests and never left. On this remote archipelago, the birds developed into a distinct species. Cloud forests are among the most diverse habitats on Earth. Almost all the plants are found only here. This is the only place many of them could survive. These are among the rarest, most endangered plants on Earth. They're extremely sensitive. The smallest change in climate, and they could vanish from the Earth forever. Canarina canariensis, the canary bellflower, is a relic of the Tertiary era too. Large amounts of nectar are produced within its bright calyx. The insects that once pollinated these plants are now extinct. This plant was forced to adapt, and now it's pollinated by birds. The delicate chiffchaff is attracted by the bellflower's nectar. It uses its narrow beak to reach deep into the flower. The chiffchaff has replaced extinct species as this plant's pollinator. The Canary Island foxglove attracts leaf warbler birds. The flower's shape is perfectly adapted to the bird. As the leaf warbler reaches for the nectar, pollen is brushed onto its head. The bird then carries the pollen to the next flower. As soon as the damp, chill Alisio wind loses its force, the feel of Africa returns. The air becomes hazy. The temperatures rise. North of Lanzarote, away from the inhabited islands, there's a small archipelago, Chinijo. It's a handful of bare volcanic rocks in the Atlantic Ocean. Yet this archipelago attracts some very unusual nomads. Eleonora's falcons usually live in Madagascar.
I'm having these mental blocks in the gym recently. It's not been fun. It's been scary.
But several come to breed on these volcanic rocks, devoid of vegetation. To reach the tiny island of Alegranza, falcons cross the Sahara Desert in just 3 weeks. About 150 breeding pairs settle in the harsh landscape. Eleonora's falcons are social birds and breed in loose colonies. It's the height of the summer, but the falcons have only just begun to brood. Back in the strait between La Gomera and Tenerife, there's no wind and the sea is smooth and calm. Pilot whales relax on the surface. Now, in August, the family groups gently drift and their young are born. All the whales in a pod are related, so the males mate with females from other families. Then they return to their own pod to protect their clan. Young whales spend the first 4 years close to their mothers. When their mother hunts in the depths of the ocean, other relatives keep an eye on the young. Even the males take their turn. This newborn whale is barely a day old. However, not all survive those first few hours. This calf has been dead for several days. The male desperately keeps it afloat, unwilling to give up. Physical contact is important for the whales. It reinforces their family ties and gives the group the strength to endure the many challenges they face in the open seas. Hidden among the ragged cliffs, freshly hatched Eleonora's falcon chicks wait for their parents to return. The adults tirelessly roam the skies looking for food. During breeding season, Eleonora's falcons hunt songbirds out at sea. Smaller birds flying south along the African coast are frequently blown out over the Atlantic by the Kalima. When the exhausted birds finally make it to the Canary Islands, the falcons are waiting. That's why Eleonora's falcons breed so late in the year. They have adjusted their behavior to take advantage of the autumn migration. It's a dangerous strategy. If the migrant birds fail to arrive, the young falcons will starve.
Sige na natin. 7.
The chicks remain in the nest for 6 weeks, while the parents feed and take care of them. The dark volcanic rock can reach more than 40 degrees Celsius at midday. The fragile brood needs not only food, but protection from the burning sun. When the parents are away hunting, shade can make the difference between life and death.
Hey, big news. You're about to discover how you can build your very own Walmart store in 90 days by putting in less than 3 hours of work a week. Basically, it's just like putting money into any savings account, except you make back a better return in far less time than you would from the bank. In fact, this opportunity for growth is actually safer than placing your money in a bank. After all, we've seen time and time again that banks are actually not as trustworthy as they seem. Between creating fraud accounts without your consent and forbidding you from withdrawing all of your money, where can you put your hard-earned money? you need to put your money in an outlet that has the safest returns, passive growth, and an acceptable amount of risk. After all, you can't grow.
This year, many migrant birds were stranded near Alegranza. It's a good season for the falcons. Most of their young will survive. At the end of October, the parents embark on the long flight to their winter quarters in Madagascar. The young birds will follow later, on their own. At just 10 weeks, they have to cover a distance of 10,000 kilometers alone. They leave the rocky outcrops before the winter storms arrive. Next year, they'll return to their islands in the Atlantic. Born out of the seas millions of years ago in an inferno of fire and ash, the Canary Islands are now a subtropical paradise. New species, unique behaviors developed here, far from the African mainland. They are the subject of the next episode, World of the Fire Mountain.